Missiles, bombs, they are crisscrossing West Asia at this point. Iran says that its elite forces will intensify their operations in the region with a new ballistic missile range. In this war of claims, counterclaims, and of course all the explosions, who has an edge in this war? Take a look at this next report.
Jets roared into Iranian sky during the early hours of 28th of February when Operation Epic Fury and Operation Roaring Lion were set in motion. Israeli and American fighters started dropping bombs on Iranian soil. What followed was Iran's counterattack, Operation True Promise 4. Iran launched 90 ballistic missiles towards Israel on the first day of counterattack. Since then, it has hit oil refineries, U.S. military bases, and compounds across Gulf countries that are allegedly housing American officials. 27 waves of missile and drone attacks have been launched under Operation True Promise 4. Doubling down on it, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps say a new advance, long-range missiles are soon to make debut. Iran is yet to use a long-range missiles in its counterattack. It has mobilized short-range missiles like Fateh, Zulfaghar, and Qadar, hitting targets that fall within 1,000 kilometers striking range. Apart from these, Iran has also used some of its medium-range missiles like Shahab, Khorramshahr, and Ghadar. Iran's missiles arsenal is hidden in underground missile silos. A long-range missile would further expand Iran's strike zone by potentially bringing major European countries within its range. It recently touted its solid-fuel medium-range ballistic missile Khaybar-Shekan. Israel claims Iran's total number of missile launchers have gone down from 420 before the war to nearly 100. According to Pentagon, Iranian counterattacks have gone down by 90%.
Then if I just look back over the last 24 hours of the operation compared to where we were at its start, ballistic missile attacks have decreased by 90% since day one. Drone attacks have decreased by 83% since day one. Having said this, we remain vigilant.
Israel alone has dropped around 7,500 bombs across various locations in Iran. U.S., on the other hand, claims to hit over 3,000 targets during first 7 days of Operation Epic Fury. America's Raptors, Falcons, Hornets, and F-35 lightings are flying in the Iranian skies. This attacking posture is aided by Lucas and MQ-9 Reaper drones. Pentagon Chief's Post recently stated, "This was never meant to be a fair fight." Especially when a B-52 jet is involved, U.S. Patriot and THAAD missile defense systems are mitigating Iran's counterattack. This is turning out to be a point of concern for Washington. Production. Speed and cost of Iranian missiles and drones is far lesser than the interceptors used by U.S. and Israel. Iran can produce 5,000 drones per month. On the contrary, U.S. can produce 8 THAAD interceptors and 24 to 32 Patriot systems during the same time. The dynamics of war depend not just on firepower but also on the longevity and ability to hold the line. Iran has hit 14 countries across West Asia, UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia to Iraq, Turkey, and Azerbaijan. Tehran says any piece of land that can be potentially used against it remains a legitimate target. Donald Trump claims Iran's military, navy, and air force is completely destroyed.
Their army is gone. They're just about, look, their navy is gone. Their communications are gone. Their leaders are gone.
On the counter, Iran claims to have captured multiple U.S. soldiers. Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Chairman Ali Larijani, has accused Israel and Iran of downplaying the damages caused by Iranian attacks. Ali Larijani is a crucial figure in the power corridors of the Islamic Republic. Former IRGC member is known for his proximity with late Ayatollah Khamenei. During the final days of Khamenei, Larijani was directly reporting to him by sidelining President Pezeshkian. Now, with most of his superiors gone, he is believed to have consolidated his position inside Iran's power structure. Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have openly expressed their wish to topple the Islamic Republic. Aerial bombardment can cripple Iran's missiles, but what happens to the guns that control the streets and Iran's control of economic corridors via Strait of Hormuz? The war is not just devastating lives, but also choking global trade. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, lots to unpack. I'm being joined now from Sweden by Asol Saleh. He is a journalist and Kurdish politics analyst. Mr. Saleh, thank you so much for making time for us. I want to start off with your area of expertise. Let's quickly get into the statement that came in from Trump. He had mentioned that there could perhaps be an uprising from the Iranian Kurds, and very soon there was a U-turn on that. Anything that you've picked up on what could have caused that statement, and perhaps what caused the U-turn more than anything else of the Iranian Kurds, perhaps leading to an armed uprising within Iran, because that's the only form of boots on ground that perhaps would be in favor of the US and Israel at this point?
So that is a question, actually. Mr. President said something, but in the practice, is it correct or not? So we are going to see in the maybe coming days. But as I see, according to the statement by the United States President in previous week and the U.S. Secretary of the Defense or the War, the United States has the capability to continue this war for weeks or maybe months. So on the other hand, as your report showed, that it appears that the capability of the Iranian regime decreased so much. So, and it appears that one of the possible outcomes of this war could be that country turning into a so-called failed state. So, and ultimately, at result, the overthrow of this regime and the government. So, in this context, actually, the use of ground forces becomes important. So, the United States and Israel may not want to deploy their own armed or ground troops inside Iran. So, therefore, using the Iranian groups which are armed would be significant in this regard. So Kurdish parties have experienced, well-trained forces, and for this reason I believe that if this war continues, and one of the purposes, and this war should be the overthrowing of the regime, the Kurdish parties are very important and they have very significant importance.
Understood. Mr. Saleh, when you say overthrow of this current regime, how do you see that happening? Because as far as the Supreme Leader is concerned, he was assassinated, eliminated on the first day itself, but very soon there will be a new name. The council has already been taken charge. It has taken charge. President is very much in place. And then as far as their battle, as far as their the way they are conducting the war at this point, they are sticking to their protocols as were already determined before the elimination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And then there are constant statements coming in from Ali Larijani, who's taken a rather significant role. There seem to be new heads propping up when the earlier commanders have been eliminated. What would a change of regime at this point require?
I think that is the difference that we are seeing in this war compared to the previous 12 days war in previous summer. So the previous summer at the war, 12-day war, the Israel especially, they just eliminated the top leaders, and the regime and the institutions remained. But at this time, I think the attacks are significant, and they are not only eliminating the high commanders or maybe the supreme leader. The Iranian regime is not like, for instance, Venezuela, or not like the Iraqi Saddam. This regime leadership based on institutions, and for that purpose, to overthrowing that regime, you need to attack their institutions. I believe the main purpose is to reach that point that the regime will become a failed state. So even if they have institutions, for leadership, different type of institutions, military and political and economic, but still they don't have any function. So when they don't have any functionality, so it means that they are a failed state. And I believe the people of Iran, they are not so happy with this regime. So maybe at that point, the pressure from the people and maybe military pressure from the US and Israel and maybe Kurdish parties will overthrow the regime.
All right, Mr. Saleh, let's now also talk about the reports that surfaced regarding countries from the GCC carrying out attacks on Iran. There were earlier reports suggesting that Qatar had done so. Qatar retracted. They said, no, we have not done any such thing. Days later, just earlier today, UAE, again, similar reports suggesting that UAE has carried out an attack on Iran. UAE was quick to say that we have not been involved in any such action. Both these reports, they surfaced from Israel first. Anything that you pick up in terms of setting a narrative here, or an intra-West Asia war which is perhaps being plugged, or is that reading too much into it?
That is, actually, this is very significant because this is something the regime had always threatened the world, that is the world drag into, that it would drag in the region into the war. And over the past 8 days, the regime has done exactly that, as you mentioned. In addition to attacking Israel and US bases in the region, it has also stuck some infrastructure, maybe oil refineries and civilian areas, hotels in the neighboring countries. So one of the regime's goal, besides indirectly pressuring Israel, especially, and maybe United States as well, through these countries to end the war, it has been to increase oil prices as well. As you know, almost 2 hours ago, one of the IRGC commanders, he said that the world should prepare for $200 oil price. So this is very important for the oil capacity, for the economic of the world. But it appears that it showed exactly in your report that the missile capacity of the regime 90% decreased, the drone capacity 83%. So it means that when Iran's military capacity has been significantly reduced, so such that statements are more propaganda than reality. So I think in the coming days, we are going to see that these attacks are going to stop.
Let me now come to your immediate neighborhood, Mr. Saleh, Norway, the blast near the US Embassy in Oslo. Is that setting, because it is being probed as a terror attack, what does that tell us about where this is heading? Because that's nowhere close to Iran or any of the nations which are in the midst of the fire at this point.
Yeah, Norway is a peace country. It has been some negotiations in that country, even between the regime and the Kurdish parties many years ago in that country. And both, actually, Norway and Sweden, they have some gangs that they have very big networks, and right now they have very good relationship with the Iranian regime. One of their leader arrested in Iran, and after several days they became free again. And after that we saw an attack to the Israeli embassy in Stockholm. It was, I think, last summer. So we have such that gangs here in Sweden and Norway. And today, the security organization, in Sweden, they say that you are going to maybe face such that attacks here in Sweden. And also the U.S. Embassy had some statement about that today. So it is very clear that Iranian regime has different ways to attack the Western countries' interest. One of them is to carry out terrorist attacks in these countries. We saw last week one terrorist attack in United States. and maybe we are going to see such that attacks in the European countries as well.
Well, the fight reaching a country like Norway is definitely, I mean, everything that we're seeing, and far as the attacks on the desalination plants as well, I mean, that is a next level of elevation, and you know, the fact that it is now reaching Norway, if it really turns out to be a terror attack, that is going to be extremely alarming, because now it's not just a regional West Asia war then, it is touching Scandinavian nation as well. Let's wait and watch. We'll need to discuss this further as the developments keep coming. That was Aso Saleh joining us from Sweden.
Thank you.